Okay, today I want to speak about spirituality in Costa Rica, right? The essence of Costa Rica, its people, the land. Um, and for me, the spirituality has a lot to do with the essence. You know, when I speak about spirituality, I don't necessarily speak about a God in the sky and having to try and leave this place to find something else. For me, spirituality is something so innate, you know, so everyday. It needs to be grounded, right? Like spirituality comes from the Latin word spiritus, right? Which is the root of the word to inspire, to breathe, right? Inspirar, take an in-breath and an out-breath, expire. So spirituality is breathing, right? Like even like the Allah, right? In the Islamic tradition, translates to the breath. So to me, spirituality is not this like attempt to exit this world to find another world. Spirituality is an attempt to reconnect and to expand our connection and understanding of ourselves and this natural world around us. And that to me is the essence of what you find in a very humble way here in Costa Rica, in the culture and in the power of the land here. Right? As many people who live in Costa Rica or know Costa Rica, nature here is exuberant, right? And that works in two ways because it's not always the best, you know? Costa Rica is not an easy place to live in. Costa Rica has an extreme of elements of nature, you know? It's not just the nice animals. There's bugs, you get bit, but this kind of unavoidable connection or confrontation with nature awakens a natural essence because we are nature. So when we confront ourselves with natural problems, it's natural solutions that come up. It forms us, it creates us, it helps us, it helps the development of the essential human being, not the artificial human being. Right? Because we need also to live in an artificial world in which we live and understand it and solve problems there. But if we forget our natural essence, we become these really off-balanced people, which you find. You find people who are high in business, have a lot of money or successful careers or whatever. But when you start prodding at them, you see that there's really no personal development. There's no it's like, mate, like, you know, like, where's the lust for life, man? Like, where are your feet on the ground? Like, where's the life? Right? Like, And I mean, I'm in Costa Rica here, like it's Pura Vida. You know, you'll find that a lot of the words that I use when I say what I say, the spiritual approach that I have to life, uses words like life, like essence, like nature, natural. You know, there's so many different cultures that have spirituality, and I think we all go to the same place, but we go there using different concepts, different cultures, different ideas. You know, you can go to India, you can go to the Middle East, you can go even to South America, and you'll find all these different cultures that have a lot of I wouldn't say deeper, but like older culture, right? Where they have libraries of understanding and spiritual development, and it's great. There's so much information there, but that's not the gift that Costa Rica has. Costa Rica doesn't have any books. You know, it's got a humble and essential and very pure outlook on the natural life, and it's not just a connection with nature, but it's also a humility, a very grounded, humble richness, right? The richness here is life. To many people outside of Costa Rica, they're like, oh, it doesn't have much. It's not considered a rich country, but you talk to the Ticos here, they are the richest people on the planet. And in my opinion, they are, because they don't take anything for granted. Man, they have a roof over their head, a nice cup of coffee in the morning. They have a couple cows or a horse or some chickens in the backyard, and just the nature and the birds, family around them. It's gracias a Dios. Thank you, God. This is all they need, and they are genuinely happy with it. And to me, that's inspirational. We have so much to learn from this, because we can spend our whole lives searching for things and never really be happy. But if we start to just take a step back and look around us and see what we have and start to appreciate the little things in life, then you realize that here there's so much wealth. So much wealth. Our definition of wealth needs to change. Wealth is not just a number in your bank account. You could be the richest man on earth and the most miserable at the same time, right? You can have no bank account and have a deep connection with yourself, with your family, with your grandkids, right? And the natural world, and be genuinely full. You know, and that to me is real wealth. And so when I speak about Costa Rica, like, I've been on a spiritual journey for a long time, right? And the reason why I'm still here and why I've moved around my whole life, right? But somehow the last 15 years I've spent here in Costa Rica, and it's not because things have gone well for me here. Quite the opposite. It's because here, growth, personal growth, spiritual growth has always been a leading, predominant factor in my life, and I've received it here through the different cultures, the different experiences, whether it's plant medicine or drinking a cup of coffee with an abuelo or an abuela and listening to their stories of picking coffee, back in the 70s. And there's so much to gain from that. There's so much purity, Spirituality does not need a library of understanding. It needs a purity of awareness, of sight, right? You need to be able to just see things as they are, see yourself as you are, and reach a level of humility where there's clarity, where there's less tension, where there's more openness, right? And from there, when you have clarity, and I might go a little deep here in my own understanding, but when you find peace, because we want to grow, but then I'm saying, yeah, but let's not grow. Let's just find peace. Let's find clarity. When you create a stable and harmonious space within yourself where you're coherent in the little things, right? You speak, you're coherent in how you think and how you feel, how you speak, how you move in this world. You are in peace with just this. Then you've created, to me, a fertile ground for the life force inside of you to start moving and to grow. And that's where growth, it's a natural growth. It's a growth of life within you. It's allowing your cells to grow alongside, within, through life. And not growing and trying. When we start to try too much and want too much, we create tensions, constrictions that come from an ideology that we have, a belief that we have of what life is, what life ought to be, what we ought to be. And in many cases, it blocks life. It creates these artificial boxes around what ought to be a more natural movement. Life is not a box. Life is a flow. It's a movement. It's a growth. You can't stop life from growing. So if you want to grow, stop trying to grow. Let life grow in you. Right? And this is an approach that when you're confronted with this place enough times, like, you start to see that, how to grow a flower, man. I worked in agriculture, like, that you can't make a flower grow before its time, but that you can definitely create a space where it's going to grow many flowers. That the bees and the butterflies and everything are going to jump on it and want to fertilize it and are going to want to keep spreading this love and abundance. But it won't pop the flower before its time. I can't choose how to germinate a plant. The germination from a seed to a sprout is one of the most sacred and mystical aspects of this entire universe. You can relate it to stars, to galaxies being born, and you can see it in a plant growing here, right underneath your fingers. This is like a process of transformation. How? It's not important, but create an understanding and creating a space where that can happen more fluidly, easily, with more strength, with more grace. This is what's under our control, right? So it's not trying to make something happen. It's creating a space where life happens. And that is such a central aspect of how I see, the essence of Costa Rica, to me, is the humility of its people, the way of life that's humble and natural and connected to nature, but also the land itself, even before the people, right? The energy of this geographical location is a vortex of life. It is a concentration funnel of life. And so if we want to grow spiritually here, we align with life. The spiritual path here is about life. It's about nature. If you look at how the continents were built, right? Like, you have North America coming through all these different geologies and geographies funneling down. Same thing happening in South America, funneling up. And right in the middle of this funnel, you have Costa Rica. All right? It's where life has concentrated and has moved to. So the spiritual path of development that I'm trying to portray has so much influence from that. And this is not something that it's something I've realized over time. It's not a coincidence. I'm sure if I had grown up in a Sufi community in the Middle East, I would be talking differently. or in India, or, you know, in Papua New Guinea, you know? There's different cultures all over, and I think we're all getting to the same place, but I think there's a reason why I'm still here in Costa Rica, and that's because my life force has aligned with a very natural growth, and it's required going really, really, really dark. But I also, for some reason, spent 5 years working in organic agriculture, which anyone who knows about organic agriculture, you don't spend your time spraying the plants with a bunch of things to protect it. You spend all your time creating good soil, right? Organic agriculture has 95% of it is making sure that the soil, the substrate that you create, breeds a healthy plant. The biodiversity of the soil, so it has all the microorganisms, you know, all of the nutrients and the adaptability needed for a strong and healthy plant. The biodiversity of a soil is a fascinating topic. Creating compost, adding microorganisms, making sure that, you know, the nematodes are well balanced. Everything has its place. But if you have a good soil, a plant is going to have its own defenses. The plant is going to be able to defend and ward off the right predators and the thing on its own. Plants have an amazing amount of ability. They do chemical warfare with pheromones. And so you won't need to be there spraying it with pesticides every day to make sure to keep it off. You need to do that when the plant is sick. Right? When the plant is already weak, you need to add a whole bunch of stuff to it in order to balance it out. But if the very ground within which it's rooted, the very darkness within which its soul is, if that's healthy, the plant's healthy. And if I make the parallel with a human being, we have so many supports right now. We're taking pills, pharmaceuticals, this. We need 1,000,001 external things to maintain us somewhat balanced inside, to not lose ourselves. And what are we running away from constantly? What do we not want to see? It's the wounds, it's the darkness, it's the sadness, it's the aloneness, the emptiness. There's a whole part of the human psyche that's unexplored. Yet that's where the compost is. That's where the nutrients are for our growth. You know, so if we can go into this place and start to create a wonderful compost out of this raw material, I know from experience, you don't need 1,000,001 things out there to make you happy. The happiness comes from within. You're vibrating, you're fueled, you're good. You don't need to be taking pills or any of that stuff, right? But we're not really doing it, or we're going back to it. I don't know. This is to me such a fundamental and essential and obvious thing, you know. I know I know how to make compost. I know how a plant works, and I have to say the parallel is the same. You know what's another interesting thing about plants, just while I'm on a tangent here? If you look at biodynamic agriculture that was developed by Rudolf Steiner, which goes even deeper in connecting the plant with the stars and the cosmic forces and aligning it with you know, certain elements and everything. The vision that they have of the plant, and I couldn't agree with it more, is that the plant is actually a human being on its head, right? So the head center of the plant is actually its roots and its connection with the mycelium of the planet, right? And the feet and the genitals of the plant are what come up and create the flowers, and that's what comes up. So again, to go even deeper, like the plant has its head plunged to the center of the earth, connected with this underground mycelium. Whereas we're trying to avoid that. And so again, you know, to me, this connection that I have with my own spiritual journey and the work that I'm trying to do with the people has such I owe a lot of it to this land and the essence of this land and the people and the essence of this people. And so this post is really a shout out to that. And I can talk about it for a long time. There's so many understandings of how nature works, how ecosystems work, that are paralleled with our own psychology, you know, with our own biology, that the more we understand about it, the more things start to make sense. And then our relationship with all these problems start to change. And when our relationship with our problems change, the problems change and they move. And hope you got something out of that little rant.